But I'm just going to start anyway. So if you don't know me, I'm Scott. I'm the adult tennis manager at the WAC Lake Country. So this is my second time doing this. I didn't prepare much for this one. I briefly looked over my notes. So if you heard of the last one, you're probably going to get to make fun of me at the end of this. I have some fears when I do these things. Small list. One of them, swearing. So I hope I don't offend you. Last time I did pretty good, but I had a couple mistakes, but they were appropriately timed. Crying. I'm a crier. Some of you know that from me. I'm going to attempt today to make it the whole time and not have that happen, but I'm going to fail. I always do. So when I was a kid, I had to go to speech therapy because I could not talk in front of people. I slurred my R's and my L's, and I still do it every once in a while. So when that happens, please feel free to comment on it and make fun of me. It just makes me feel better about it. Okay? So I'm going to try to get through those. And my last one is coughing. So some of my Lake Country friends have rules that they are not allowed to say anything funny that makes me laugh, because laughing causes my cough. And once it starts, I cannot stop. So I'm going to try to battle it for the next hour or so. So today is not a situation where I'm going to have you do any role-playing or skits or put you on the spot. That is not my style at all. And people that know me know when I hear those words, I run and hide. Right? So you don't have to worry about that. You can participate or not. Doesn't affect me at all. It's not one of those things we're all about to do group projects. There's no trust falls. That's about my nightmare of those kind of things. So if you're fearful of those, as I am, don't worry about this hour. It's super easy. Okay? It's basically story time. I get to tell some stories of things that I've done through my career that sort of shaped how I feel about customer service and treating people. Lastly, I'm also the last person who should be giving this WAC U. If you know me and have conversations with me in the office, I sometimes say some things that aren't the nicest things on earth, right? But I never act on them, and that's what a lot of today is. We all have situations where we're very unhappy with a member, right? And we might say some negative things about them, but it stays in the office, right? So all the things I'm going to say, the ones that know me can roll their eyes and be like, I know what he really wants to say. But the difference is we don't say it front-facing to members. We keep it private, hopefully. So I taught my first tennis lesson when I was 14 years old. Grew up in a little small town in southern Indiana, and they carried a 5-gallon bucket with beat-up, dead tennis balls, and it charged $7 an hour. I'm slightly more expensive now. And that's when I started getting my first taste of people and sort of relationship skills. And the first thing I can remember of ever being important that I treated someone kindly, I was 16, just had my license, got pulled over for speeding. It's happened a lot in my life, it turns out. It's a theme I have. Got a ticket. My parents took my license away for a week. It's terrible. You just turned 16 and you think you're cool, and now you're grounded, right? I got a call a couple days after the police officer gave me the ticket. Turns out I was giving his daughter tennis lessons at the local park, and he didn't know it. And his wife found out that he gave me a ticket. So he calls me and apologizes and says, my daughter loves you. Don't worry about that ticket. Basically told me to tear it up. And it was my first thing I can remember of sort of treating somebody kindly that came back to help me later when I broke the law. I made a mistake, right? But because I had taken care of his daughter, she liked her lessons, and back then I didn't know what I was doing. I thought $7 was the coolest thing ever. But having that conversation with the police officer to tell me that because I treated his daughter well and his wife liked me, saved me some money. Because a speeding ticket when you're 16 is pretty much every dollar you've ever saved, right? So that was sort of a lot of stories about those things that sort of shaped how I think we should treat people. I had one recently, just in the last couple weeks. I called a local fence company. We need a new fence in our backyard. Big expense, way too much. I can't believe how much fences cost if you've ever gotten one. It's outrageous. One company who I'd used before for a commercial project, went through their website, emailed them, did the whole thing, gave them everything I needed. No response for 4 weeks. Another one I called, they called me that afternoon within 2 or 3 hours of sending that email in. I signed a contract that day. They got my business. The first company emailed me last week saying they're sorry they're closed for the season and they would contact me in April about my fence job. and they're never getting my business again. And they're a good company. I've used them. But that delay crushed me, right? I'm also a grudge holder, and I will never spend $1 with them. But things like that shaped how I do things. And I don't do everything correctly. I fail a lot. But we're always trying to get better. So the other company got my $15,000. So if you ever want a fence, and my yard's not big. It's not a big elaborate. It's done. Simple. So if you ever need a fence, call me. I got a better place. That's pretty much it. So my title, Pink Flamingo, police officer, Ace Hardware. We're going to cover those 4 things. And I'll tell you why. And we'll kind of go from there. So the Pink Flamingo. This is not going to be a great thing for you, but I want you to picture me. It's August 26th, 5 years ago. Maybe 6. I'm floating in my backyard pool. It's one of those you build for your kids. It's temporary. It's not real fancy. I'm floating in the back listening to a Brewer game on this giant flamingo my wife had bought for the kids. One of those massive ones. You can fit 3 people on it. Everything's good in my life. I'm listening to Bob Uecker on the radio, and Brewers are going and chilling out. And I get a text. And I already broke my cry rule because it's coming. Text from a member telling me, well, I also wrote on here that I look like Cousin Eddie from Christmas Vacation. Picture me. That was pretty much it. Okay? I got a text from a member of my previous club that they just sold my club and I lost my job. So I went from Cousin Eddie living the life in my backyard with a busted fence to jobless in 30 days. And so I can't do it. This is where I did it last time too. You can imagine what that did to me. 3 kids at home, all in high school, and I have 30 days to be done. Right? And so I was completely unprepared. It'd be similar to if our owners walked in the building right now and said we're closing. And none of us had any idea. We all just lost our jobs. Pretty crushing. I went through every phase of emotions you could do. I was angry, sad, cried for days, terrified. What am I going to do next? All right, this is where I struggle with this stuff. This isn't even the hard story to tell. But what I had to do after some weeks, probably 2 weeks of grieving is what people told me. I sort of made a rule in my life to say yes to everything because I was jobless. And in my line of business, there's not a lot of tennis clubs in this area anymore. There's really 3 that are any good. So I made a rule. I finally decided one day that this is what has been given to me. I got to deal with it. I can't keep, whining and moaning and being sad for myself because I'm the only one that can fix this problem. So I made a quick rule. I'm going to say yes to everything. That meant someone calls me and wants to have a cup of coffee? Absolutely. Right? Someone wants to take me to lunch? Sure, I don't have any money. I'll be glad to have your lunch. Right? To open up some of those doors, I had meetings with people I didn't know. Friends were connecting me. I had a meeting with a guy who I thought was a job possibility. Turns out he wanted to just sell me insurance. I don't know. He bought me coffee, so I guess I got that out of it. But what I was fearful of is all of these people I met with, I had the same question in my head. Was I nice to them? These are people from my old job, from my past. I made cold calls. Hey, haven't seen you for a while. Want to go get a drink? Right? And I was fearful every time, did I treat these people right? Because if I didn't, they can't help me. And this is going to be embarrassing because they're going to tell me, you were a jackass. There's one. And so I have that. How did I treat them? And every time I went into one, I kept thinking, all right, did I do something? Did I do something to Lucas in the past or not let him in a league or treat him poorly? And I learned that, fortunately, I was fairly decent human to most of these people that helped me. And I think it's important for all of us as we're talking to people, even when we want to just walk them out the door and banish their membership, that there's a possibility we're going to need them again. And that's what a lot of today is about. What that saying yes to everything did is it got me my first sort of back on my feet. I had somebody call me and found that there was a college coach's job available. I didn't even know, never heard of the school, didn't know where it was, knew nothing, and they thought of me because I was nice to them. So I went in, got the job. There's a little small bit of recovery in my life, financially and I guess pridefully, if that's a word. Is that a word? So that happens. All right. From there, I met somebody on that team who was on the board at another club called the Village Club. He knew somebody, called them, they lost their tennis director. Lucky for me, I was available. They asked if I'd want it. Absolutely, I said yes to everything. So I was taking jobs saying yes to everything. Another small piece to build onto that. That's why I'm here. Because I got the Village Club, and through that, some of you know Denny, who works for us, one of our longtime coaches. Denny calls me one day, he's a WAC employee, and says, you need to talk to this Ann lady out at Lake Country. I'm like, all right, I don't know who Ann is. Right? So he connects me with Ann, and I head out to Lake Country and meet Ann and Tim and some of the staff there, and that's how I ended up in this building. And all the other locations is because of knowing people and being nice to them. If I had been who I am to them, I might not be here. I was looking at jobs all over the country. We were moving. Like that was my next step. But I just kept thinking there's got to be something else here. My kids are still here. And I look back at all of those relationships, and there were so many people that if I had treated poorly or handled their situation negatively, I don't get these opportunities. I don't get the opportunity to stand in front of you all and talk gibberish for an hour, right? And I would encourage all of you to take that, say yes to more stuff, right? I say no to some things. I say no to karaoke no matter what. That is an absolute no for me. That is not involved in my say yes to everything. But there's a lot of things that I've done here at the WAC or outside of the WAC that I said yes to that turned out to be pretty cool, even though I went into them as negative guy. Find somebody to say yes to. If they ask you to do something at the club, just say yes. Try it. We've got a new tennis coach at the WAC who's not new anymore, but Connor. He's a yes guy to everything. He is bartender and MOD and stringer and you name it now, right? And he's exploded and gone up our ladder as high as he can really go at the moment. Just because he says yes. He never tells me no. I think it's important for all of us to have that answer, obviously if it's within reason. But that's sort of how I ended up here. And it all started with me floating on that pink flamingo and a text that your life just changed significantly. And it was awful. But I guess like all stuff, I look back now and it needed to happen. My old job, I was 15 years in and I was perfectly comfortable and totally in charge. I didn't have a boss. I didn't have anybody to tell me what to do. And I realized how much that sucked. I needed to be around people. It's kind of a one-man show with that stuff. So when stuff goes bad, cry a little bit, and then, like Julie at LC tells me, put your big boy pants on. That's what she tells me all the time. I feel like I must do a lot of bad things. So a lot of my stuff is just going through some stories. So my second police officer experience, and this is where I think is important for all of us. So my daughter and I like to go fishing. And last summer, we used to go all the time. My kids went with me. Driving out, we're going to Menominee County Park. It's out in Lannon, half hour from here. Really nice. It's our favorite place to fish. When we go there, it's a happy place. We got all our gear. We got some snacks. Guess what happened to me on the way there? I got pulled over. See a theme here with my driving? I was speeding, no doubt about it. Out in the country, nobody anywhere. There's not a soul out there. And this cop, I'm with my daughter, she's 15, and she's still very kind, right? Cop gets out, walks up to the window, and he is a complete jerk. He's mean. I thought he was going to arrest me. I thought he looked like he just wanted to put somebody in jail, questioning everything. And I was going like 45 and 30. It's in the country, who cares? Nobody around. Pulled us over. He was rude. He was grumpy. He just freaked my daughter out. Morgan knows Molly. She's very sweet still. I say still because she's 15. And I know that can change. I've had it change. She was terrified. It was a very, very bad experience. And we haven't been fishing since. Not one time. It killed it for both of us. It was that. It wasn't traumatic. It was just kind of killed our vibe. We have not been back. It's been a year and a half. We did not fish once last summer. And some of you should be questioning my parenting. Why did I let it affect us that much? That's a valid question. I don't know. But the sort of point is that one interaction was negative can ruin your reputation, ours, your next steps with members. So it's why we have to try, even when we want to arrest somebody and put them in the WAC jail, right? We can't do it. We have to find a better way. But what I looked at long term, we don't get to fish anymore. That's a huge loss for us. The gas station, the BP on the corner of Good Hope Road and something, where we stop for snacks every single time and spend $10, $15. Sometimes I get gas. They're getting nothing from me anymore, right? The place I stop on the way to buy worms, they get nothing from me anymore. The fee to go into the park, gone, right? None of that is happening out there. There's an awesome concession stand, snow cones and pretzels and all the crap we like. I don't spend $1 there anymore. So even though it affected me personally, there are multiple things that are no longer getting that business. You add that up, you total that, maybe I'm not the only one. That cop pulls over 10 other people. They stop doing whatever they're going to do. Now we got a problem, right? So I think it showed me how important those little interactions are. And I fully broke the law. I did not argue that I was speeding. I was not argumentative. He was bored and wanted something to do. But that experience was really, as you can tell, impactful on me and my daughter and how I go about things. And so I'm trying to stress today how important it is that when we have these conversations, as much as we don't want to have a good conversation and we just want to rip them a new one and send them home, we obviously can't do that. We have to find a way because the repercussions they're long-lasting forever. That fence company story, it's $15,000. That may be a drop in the bucket to them, but multiple families decide we're not using you. It's a significant amount of money. And so we're going to try to go fishing again someday. I don't know if I'll go back to that place again. Someone else might get our time and our business and our enjoyment. But that had a huge impact on us. But things I'm going to talk about, they're not all negative. Anybody here like Ace Hardware? Are you Ace Hardware people? The first time I did this, it was a room full of, they should have all been in red smocks. They were all Ace Hardware people. So years ago at my old club, I was the maintenance guy, the tennis guy, everything. So if something broke, I had to fix it, and I have no skills in that area. So there was an Ace Hardware down the street. And one day a piece broke in our locker room. It was in it was a plumbing something. I don't even know what it was. But I had to fix it. So I took that piece, drove to Ace Hardware, found a guy there. He couldn't quite figure it out. So you know what he did? He got in his car, and he followed me all the way back to my club. He came with me. Walked around, went to the locker room, took some pictures, saw the piece. He's like, oh, I know what it is now. We can fix that. We drive back to my Ace Hardware. He gets the parts for me, comes back, and installs it for me. How about that for customer service? Guess where my money goes now? I don't spend $1 at Menards or Home Depot if I absolutely do not have to. Because that experience was, I'll never forget it. And it was probably 20, 25 years ago. Because if you know Ace Hardware, they hire retired plumbers, electricians, like they actually have people who know what they're doing. Or you go to some other big box stores and you can't find a soul in that building, right? But to have, these days it might seem a little creepy if somebody says, I'll follow you back to your work. But back then, it was cool. But imagine what he got for that business. Not just his location, but anywhere I'm at around here, I'll go to an Ace. Because of that one interaction with one person. And I did not know him. We didn't have a relationship. I went to the store a lot, but he wasn't like my Ace guy where we, hung out. Just a guy who realized that he was dealing with somebody who had no clue on how to fix things or handyman or anything, and he made that decision. I'm not saying all of us, next time a member has a problem, we hop on our cars and go to their house and help them out. Let's try to avoid that. But I think the lesson is do whatever you can up to the limits of your time in that moment and what your club has to offer, the resources around you. At our club, we have multiple ACE hardware people. We can find someone who can fix this problem. There's always someone that can do it. And if there's nobody in your building that has a solution, there's probably not one for that problem. There's a lot of smart people in our organization, right? So if you can't find somebody that can come up with a great idea, it's probably not one. We probably have to let that member be disappointed a bit. But I'd encourage all of you, go to Ace Hardware. I should be paid to be an advertiser for Ace. Anybody want to share a positive customer service story? Anything close to what I have with my Ace Hardware and all that kind of stuff? You don't have to. You're not on the spot, I promise. All right, I'm not asking again.
Well, Scott, I can mention,
yeah.
When I was like a senior in high school, we had a basketball game that was like in Fond du Lac, so it was a good ways from where I was living at the time. And me and two of my high school buddies were all seniors. We were driving up to this game, and the old car that we took, it like broke down basically on the freeway. We had to like roll like off the freeway, and we were able to get to, I forget what it was called now. It was not a Take 5 oil change. It was one of those like garage places too.
Yeah. And
there was this guy, and I remember his name was Marcus. I remember this because he figured out we were essentially like out of oil and like there was one other thing, and he fixed that too. And he gave us like a box of like oil. It was like we didn't pay for it. He did it all for free, by the way.
Yeah.
We just all were a bunch of dumb high schoolers, so he didn't even bother asking us to pay for it. He literally just fixed the thing, gave us a bunch of this like motor oil basically. We got to our game on time, came home, and then that box is still sitting in my parents' garage right now too. But the three of us always remembered. We used the hashtag remember Marcus. That was like a thing that we used through the rest of our high school because we remembered that one guy who gave us that free
That's awesome.
fix, and we got to our game on time because of it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I'm gonna steal that story. Tell it in other things. He's gonna be
First
my Marcus now. But I think that's valuable. That even though it's not necessarily a business or it's that experience, maybe makes Lucas be a Marcus someday. Somebody comes across somebody, whether it's club life, work life, personal life, to help somebody and find a way. Because I think a lot of this is just, and we'll get into it in a bit, knowing what situations people are in. Because I'm a really bad judge of people. I'm an instant judger and I'm a grudge holder. I'm not very good sometimes. And I've had to really practice on, all right, I need to hold off on this and wait and see what the other side is. Am I missing something? And I think everybody can be better at it. I have to. Because if you get on my bad list, it's hard to get off it. But I'm working on it. I'm a work in progress. So this one is funny because last time I did this, you all, when you're done, are going to do these evaluation forms for me. Most of mine last time were pretty positive. One person was upset with me because I brought up the word church. They thought I shouldn't go into religion. And I'm not about to, I promise. That is not who I am. But it is a church story. Okay, so if you're offended by that, write it down on your form. I'll put it on that other one. So I started going to church, I don't know, 6-8 months ago because my daughter got baptized at one and I hadn't been going and I wanted to support her. And I actually didn't want to. I told her no. I told my wife no. And then later my daughter came and asked me. And when she asked me, I knew I got to go because it was important to her. So I went and I was nervous. I have a long history of church as a kid. My dad was going to be a minister. I was like old school, suit and tie every Sunday and all this stuff. So I've got some baggage there. But it's not a church story. First time I went, I walk in. I happened to go on Movie Week. They did a series in the summer called Movie Week. So I walk in, the whole thing looks like a theater. They have a popcorn machine. I walk in, and a nice lady hands me popcorn and a Pepsi, my two favorite things. Right? And I go in, the first thing they show on the screen was my favorite movie on earth, Tommy Boy. I got to watch Tommy Boy sitting in church eating popcorn, drinking Pepsi. I'm like, this is the coolest place ever.
You go to the Ridge? You go to my
The Ridge?
You go to my
Isn't it the coolest place?
It's a really cool, I'm going to talk church. It's a really cool church. Oh gosh.
Yeah, my daughter got baptized. So, the reason I like it is, I joke about it, they've got great coffee, coffee bars, donuts every morning. Like, I told you it's not a church story. This is a how to treat people story. I mentioned earlier, I don't like going into things where I'm going to be in the spotlight because someone asked me to. If I am the spotlight or in charge, I can do this, no problem, right? I went there several times. Not a single person asked me who I was, why I was there, what my beliefs were, do I want to join a group. They just let me sit and listen and eat my snacks and watch my movies. Nobody bothered me. They didn't put a spotlight on me during the service and ask me to turn and shake hands with my neighbor and introduce myself, because I despise all those things. So this place had exactly what I needed. I'm not saying that's for everybody. Others, I've got friends that go and they want to hug their neighbors and chat, and like, that's just not who I am. So I found this place, and I couldn't believe I kept waiting for someone to approach me and shake my hand and tell me, start giving me the church speak, which is fine. I just didn't, it's not how I wanted it to be. I wanted to explore that by myself, in my own way, with my kids, with my wife, whoever I was with. And so I kept going, and I've kept going, and no one ever bothers me, and it's amazing. I can be anonymous and listen to what I want to listen to and do whatever I want. And the lesson I learned is not everybody needs the same thing. Some people there need hand-holding when you walk them in the door, and I watch people, and there's people that need different things than me, but this place allowed me to do exactly what I need to do with no stress, no pressure. I had a member in the last 6 months or so. She joined, and one of my primary jobs, I think, at the WAC is when a new adult joins, how quickly do I get them on the court? How quickly do they not need me anymore is kind of how I judge myself, right? Well, this player, I got her in. I put her in groups, threw her on. She kept telling me she wanted to go slow and wasn't sure if she was good enough, and I didn't listen. I put her in all kinds of stuff, and she got her ass kicked. And it was a bad experience because I didn't listen to her. I didn't listen that she was almost begging me, please take this slow. I don't want you to. And I just kept doing my thing I'm programmed to do, that how quickly can I take her name off my dry erase board because I've got her, she's done. She doesn't need me anymore. And I had 2 bad conversations with her, and it was awful. Because I put her into 2 groups, and both she wasn't good enough for. And guess who gets to deliver the news that, hey, you're not good enough. And I got to do it twice. And it was terrible. We're cool now. Like, she was as kind as you can be to me. She understood where I was coming from, what my job was. But twice, I put her into groups where she had no business. She wasn't good enough. The age didn't work, the level didn't work, her needs didn't work, and I just kept, go do that. And I almost lost her. I damaged that one. Because I couldn't stop and listen to what she wanted, she needed. I was treating her like the experienced 4-0 tennis player comes in and wants to be in everything. And she wanted to be treated slow and peaceful. And imagine me calling her first time saying, Mary Ellen, I'm sorry, I talked to your group, just not quite good enough for this one. And then I get to do it a week later, the same thing. I did not treat her like the Ridge treated me. To this day, I just go in and hang out. It's like my hangout place on Sunday morning to get my coffee, and it's great. And but a place like that will allow me, if I want to, there's a million things to do there. But I'm going to pick and choose on my own versus slamming, because we're very program-based at every club, so we're used to, if you're in tennis or fitness or everything, we're just like, do this, do that, we have this, throw them in there. Some people don't want it. And I believe we can all be better at listening, right? I know that's easy to say. I'm not great at it. I'm a solution-based person. There's a new member, we need her to get on court, let's get her on court. So I'd encourage everybody, just think about maybe somebody in your world right now that you're struggling with, maybe not getting them involved the way you want to. Take a good listen to them. What do they want? Because like I said, I failed badly with this person. We're good now, I think. I saw her playing yesterday, so she did not quit the club because of me. I got lucky. She was very nice, very sweet, understood what I was trying to do and what my job was, but not everybody's going to be that. Some people are going to be like, no, I don't like that hard sell. You did not listen to me. I'm out. And then I get to go to my member services team and say, sorry, remember that membership you sold? I lost her, right? You probably don't want me to stop in with my cup of coffee and tell you that, do you? So I think just be aware of what your environment is, the language we use, and the pace at which they want to move, and let them choose. And I should have known, because I'm much more like her. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. It drives me crazy. I want to choose. You can give me suggestions nicely, but I think we got to give those options and let them pick and choose, unless they come at you, hey, I want this and this and this, which we get a lot too. So just keep that stuff in mind, that what does a great experience look like for them, because it's different. In the tennis world, I'll deal with a 5-0 guy just got out of college. His experience, what he wants, is very different than a beginner player that just joined and doesn't own a tennis racket. And I've got to get better, all of us do, I think, at treating those people differently. Same level of customer service, just treat them for what they want. That goes to how do we turn stuff around. So I got a letter early in my career. I just moved to Wisconsin 20-some years ago. I was probably at this club. I think I was 28, had a director's job at a fairly big club. Didn't know what I was doing. I was too young for the job, but I got it anyway. So I got this letter written about me to my general manager. His name was Scott Garvin, and I like him. We're still friends. Long, well-written letter about how I was incompetent and should not be in the tennis business. That I had no reason to be in the tennis business is the line I remember. And the incompetent word, that's not nice to hear about. That I didn't care about the members. And I was basically trash at my job. It was super well written. Like, it convinced me. If you read it, you'd be like, oh, he's got to go. Turns out she was a former English teacher. She must have been a tough teacher because she was mean as anything. So he brought me in, showed me the letter, read it to me, and then he tore it out. He told me, you keep doing whatever you think is best for our club. But he gave me one challenge. Turn her around. Make her a fan. Because he's like, if you can turn her, 'cause she hates your guts, if you can flip her, you'll do very well in this position, in this career. I was still young, and I thought I knew what I was doing, but I did not. So her name's Nancy. I'm still friends with her today. We flipped her around. We're buddies. I taught all of her grandkids, taught her son, her daughter-in-law, had the whole family, and she was one of my biggest fans the rest of the way. Because I made it a challenge to get her on my team. And it took a while, but I was probably embarrassingly nice to her. Paid attention to her. Her issue was like we have at LC. We grew the club quickly, a bunch of programming, and she wasn't getting the courts she thought she deserved. So I sort of had lots of conversations with her. Nancy, this is why we're doing this. For your club to last long term, we need to build these programs. And look, your grandson is in one of them now. How about that? And I helped a lot getting the kids involved. And then, so we had lots and lots of conversations. She became one of my biggest supporters at the club. If I needed something done or wanted to get a policy passed, she'd write a letter for me. Instead of against me, I could go get Nancy. Nancy would write me a letter. And everybody believed her because she wrote so freaking well. See, I said freaking, that was good. And it's just because I didn't give up on her, right? And same thing with her, she didn't quit on me. She let me continue to try. And then every once in a while I'd have these little glimpses, all right, she doesn't hate me anymore. That was a joke. She laughed at something I said. Like, she said, thank you, all right? We're getting somewhere. And I was able to turn her to where I think I could call her today and she'd write a letter for me for whatever I asked her to do. And so there's lots of those just simply because we didn't give up and we treated them kindly and tried to find a way, even in the worst cases. And I thought she could be somebody long-term that could probably cost me my job someday. Like, if she just kept barking for years, she could have gotten her point across if she found the right person. I had a conversation at the club recently with someone that I really struggled with on the court. Very, very difficult. You can ask multiple coaches. We could never seem to do right by her. Questioning everything. Kind of person, like when we rotate courts, we try to rotate so she doesn't get on our court. And we pass her on to other coaches. So one day we have class, and she grabs me afterwards, and it's court 9 we're on, and she's crying. And I'm like, oh God, I'm so mean to her, she's crying. Turns out she had some pretty serious things going on with her daughter, who is my daughter's age. And we had very similar stories. Her daughter struggled with some things that my oldest daughter did as well. Almost very eerily similar. So she started telling this story about her daughter, and I went through every step that she did with these struggles she had in her high school years. So I start crying on the court, and me and this player, who I thought we were enemies, we're both standing in front of us, bawling, talking about our kids and their struggles and how we're trying to help them. She is still a pain in the ass on the court. But I look at her in a very different way now. Like we have a sort of silent agreement that I know when she's being difficult, I know where she's coming from now. I know that it's not mean-spirited anymore. I know what she's struggling with. I've been there. So we have this silent agreement that she can still behave the way she wants to, and I'm still going to treat her nice, and we'll be friends when it's over. But that was a big one for me, because I would have told she'd be in my top 5. Please don't show up to my class today, right? Sometimes she's still that. I'm not saying it's all rainbows and unicorns, but because of that moment, having that opportunity to have a serious moment with her and know what she's got going on in her life behind the scenes changed my outlook totally on how I should be treating her. I didn't treat her bad. I just didn't treat her great. I was neutral. We probably had people who were neutral on, and others were like, we loved them. So in that case, I learned a lot about finding out, or at least giving some grace to people who may be struggling with stuff, because we don't know what's behind the scenes. Just like we don't know your employees and coworkers. Everybody's got their stuff, right? I've got my own stuff. Being better at trying to find those connection points and why. Why is this person angry all the time? Some people, they're just angry. Everybody's got some, right? You can probably list your angry person at your club. You might not turn them, but you can still keep them neutral. Are you listing people in your head?
Yeah.
I know.
No, she said,
I did say
me.
myself.
Oh,
She said herself.
we'll compare notes when we're done. So the man called W section. I actually have no notes on that. So because I lived it. A year ago, March 4th, almost a year. So next Tuesday, I went to the hospital for the first time. Yeah, but like, crap, I'm not gonna cry on this one. I'm not going to. I'm gonna keep it down. I'm gonna compartmentalize. Never been in the hospital. Terrified. Went to the doctor. Got a phone call a few hours later telling me, go to the ER right now. Do not stop. Get a ride. I ended up driving myself because I'm stubborn. Because the numbers, they did some blood tests and the numbers came back and they were bad. And first time ever I got a doctor actually saying words that you don't want to hear when he's talking to you. God, I'm not going to do it. So I get in the car, drive myself. I shouldn't have. That was a terrible decision in my life. But I told my wife I'm not letting my kids see an ambulance take me away. So I made it. I'm here. I survived. But I'm terrified. I have not been here. I'm getting blood transfusions and monitors and all kinds of stuff. I was in bad shape. So I didn't know what I was doing, but I had these 2 nurses who changed my outlook on customer service and sort of hospitals in general. I had a pretty negative outlook of the medical world based on family history and seeing my parents go through some stuff. And so I'd been in there a couple days, felt terrible, didn't know what they were doing to me, and had to do a lot of tests. And those tests involved drinking a lot of liquids, if you've ever done some tests in the hospital. So I'm an honest person, had to have a colonoscopy in the middle of while I was there. Well, I couldn't walk. I had wheelchairs. I could not leave the bed without help, was not weak enough to move. So this is like 10 o'clock at night, and they start bringing in the stuff I'm supposed to drink, and they just lined up, 8 styrofoam cups. And I couldn't do it. I tried. I got sick. I'm crying again. I'm in pain. I thought I was dying. And finally, the nurse came in, and I told her, I said, I can't do it. And so she called my doctor that night, and I overheard the conversation. It was in the room. She made it very clear that he's not doing this tonight. He just needs to rest, and begged this doctor, do not make him do this test tonight. She got her wish, and they let me sleep. And I slept for 8 hours. It was incredible. It saved me. she easily could have told me, no, start chugging this stuff. And it would have taken me hours. It would have been miserable. But that little moment of her sticking up for me with the doctor and saying that he is not doing this tonight. And I don't know how that works in the medical field, if she's risking her job. But she saved me because I was in a bad place. And then W comes in the next morning after this. I get up, it's probably 6 because she's been in the hospital, it's nonstop. I got used to just, they open the door, I stick my arm out, go ahead, put the needles in me. The next morning though, I got a new nurse. His name is W. Big Polish dude. I don't know his name. Everybody called him W. He's drill sergeant nurse. He wakes me up, starts swearing at me. You're going to get this effing stuff done today, and effing this, and all, and I am not that guy, right? Again, he didn't know me at all. And I was mad at him, and I called him names, and he called me names, and you know what I started doing? I started drinking that stuff. I started drinking it just to show him, all right, I can do this. He completely tricked me into, I was like weak, I'm not doing well, I feel terrible, I can't do this. He tricked me with his words into thinking, F you, W, I'm going to drink all this, and then I'm going to throw these empty cups at you, right? He got me completely. I started chugging the grossest drink I've ever had in my life, and I am downing him like I'm at the bar in my college days. And I got this test done, because I had a time frame. If I don't get there by 10 o'clock, I don't get it done, and I got another day in hospital, or longer. Or bad stuff happens. So his ability to flip that switch and piss me off so much that I wanted to show this dude that you're right, I can do this, right? I did not like the guy. I get done, get all the tests done. He's looking at me and kind of laughing, and he's like, I got you, didn't I? I'm like, yeah, you got me. He knew exactly what he was doing. Like, he must have heard that I was a whiny little hospital baby in there and needed somebody to kick my butt. But he did it on purpose. Like, he knew coming in that there was a time frame on what I needed to do, and he made it happen. The rest of the time I was there, he came in with me. He's the only one who sat on the couch with me and just chatted with me. Not hospital stuff. I knew all about his family and why he was a traveling nurse. I knew everything about him by the end of 2 or 3 days with him. He met my kids. I invited my kids, you gotta come meet this dude. He's awesome. I love the dude. I likely will never see him again. I've searched for him. I can't find him. It's like a mystery guy. It's like my little hospital angel named W. But he spent time with me. He sat in the chair. He sat with me in the middle of the night when I'm getting blood transfusion and just chatted. It wasn't doctor stuff. It's the kind of thing that, like I said, I will not forget this dude. But all the other nurses were great. They did not have that extra just check in and see how you're doing thing. And that hit me because in that moment I needed it. I didn't want my kids in the room. I didn't want anybody really. But I needed somebody just to hang out. And we talked sports and all kinds of stuff. But he took extra time out of his schedule just to be my friend. And I think we are always, especially me, I'm always dropping my 10th racket. I'm always on. I feel like I'm always trying to sell something. Hey, we have this program coming up. We've got a mixer or a social or jump into this. But sometimes we just need to wander around the lobby and sit down on the couch and be like, how's it going today, guys? What are you guys talking about? Like, just check in with them. We do so well at these clubs with our programming. It's tremendous, the amount of things we offer. If you can't find something to do at one of our 8 locations, you're not going to find it anywhere else. Because you could walk in and sign up for multiple things. But this hit me because he wasn't selling me on anything. He wasn't trying to sell me on another test or take another pill or get a blood test. He was just chatting to try to make my life normal. And I needed that. And I hope to find him someday. I've searched for him. I'm telling you, he's a mystery. So I want you to think about someone in your life at the club that you can flip. Do you have anybody in your brain right now that you are battling with? You've had somebody at your club that's a struggle at this moment that you need to try to turn and take it as a challenge. I have people that I don't want to try, but I need to. It's what we do. Does anybody think, you don't have to tell me, anybody think of somebody that you might be like, you know, that wasn't the best conversation? Liz probably has a few. Yeah. It's very hard. I'm not saying it's easy to do at all. It goes against everything I believe in. I believe in holding grudges and keeping lists, right? But we're much better when we can say, hey, that was a bad conversation. I didn't like how it ended. I'm going to go find them tomorrow, and we're going to have another conversation. One of my buddies, Tim, at the WAC, one thing he's great at is he is a phone call, meet in person. He's not at fix things over text, and it's very impressive the way he does it. If something goes wrong, he's on the phone. I don't always do that, because sometimes I'm afraid I'm going to lose my stuff and say the wrong thing. But he's pick up the phone, call them, hey, come to the club right now, let's meet, I'm going to find time for you. And I think that's a great way to flip people, having that face-to-face. He's taught me that when I have things now, I actually invite them, why don't you meet me at the club, I will show you what the policies are, I'll show you our screens and monitors, exactly what we do, I'll pull the curtain back and show you. But think about someone that you might be able in the next couple of weeks to turn towards your direction. I bet there's somebody. If not, you're a way better employee than I am, that's for sure, because I've got a few. So our opportunities to impact people. So here's what I'd like you to do in your head. Again, you don't have to say a word. I did this experiment before the first one I did. I wanted to keep track of how many people per day I had a chance to have an impact on. Right, so I chose a busy day in the summer. It was Ladies' Day. And I just went through every single person I saw on court, front desk, seeing people in the lobby, employees, phone calls, just walking down the hall, say, good morning, how's it going? That's an interaction, right? Any of those things. I want you to think about briefly, pick your busiest day, try to go through, in your head, what do you think your number is? Just any. It can be any interaction. You walk in the front door, hi Liz, morning. That's one, right? It's a massive number, right? I'm not going to sit here in silence and make everybody write their number on the big board. I stopped on that Tuesday when I hit 100. I'm like, what's the point if I hit 101, that's, you know how many people that is we have a chance to do something kind for? It's pretty impactful when you think about it in those individual numbers. Again, I'm not the guy that should be giving this speech. It's because sometimes I act differently than I think. Does that make sense? I think you can have thoughts, just don't act on them. That's my. But I had over 100 in that one day, and that's not even my biggest day anymore, right? But that's 100 times I have to have a small or large impact on somebody's day, and it can be a simple, hey, how's it going? How's your tennis today? I've got a player now who's a gym rat, plays tennis every single day. Mickey. She's got a messed up shoulder, hasn't been able to play for weeks, but she's coming to the gym every day and she's trying to get stronger, and she hates the gym. She wants the tennis court. She thinks the gym is the worst. But she's coming every single day, so I make a point every day of finding her in the gym and going and saying, hello, how's it going? How's it feeling? Right? Because her and I have had some issues in the past. She can be a challenge. I like her a lot now. We're buddies. I sort of flipped her. She didn't like me at first. But that moment, every day if I see Mickey, I'm going to find her. She'll be on the treadmill or the elliptical or down doing her bands and working on her shoulder. Hey, how's it going? Are you closer to getting back on the court? I know forever now, she's still going to make fun of me and say some mean things. But she's always going to be on my team when something important comes up because of having that impact. She played tennis yesterday for the first time in months and did fine. But think about it as that person that needs that. Is somebody you haven't seen for a while, somebody hurt, got a challenge in their personal life that you know, somebody passed away, his family member got sick, go have that conversation. Again, I'm not great at all this stuff. I'm like you all, I'm trying to get better. One of our coaches, Ryan, had a conversation with me a few months ago at a staff meeting similar to this, and he questioned the old saying that the customer's always right. He's like, no, they're not. And I agreed with him. And you always hear the customer's always right, no matter what. No, it's not true. Most of the time, they're bat crap crazy wrong, right? But they get the first chance to be right. That's sort of how I think of it. Those members, they get the first opportunity to be right. We're going to find everything we can to make them correct. We're going to look at every policy we have, every rule, why we have it, and see if there's somewhere where what they want fits into those things. But they're not always right, right? And sometimes we have to tell them, you're wrong on this one. We just have to accept it, right? And we just tell them why, and we do it in the wacky way, but we're looking to give them every chance to say yes to them, to whatever they want. So we've got someone, Barb Harris. I can use names in here. You guys know her, but so a longtime player, not as fast as she used to be. She wanted to, yeah. She scares me too, and she's a tiny woman, and she's scary, right? But every time I talk to her, and you can talk to any of our coaches, she'll go on court with you, and she will give you the same story every half hour we hit, because she bounces around coaches. She used to be a champion in California in 1940, 50. She was the first female tennis professional. She had a car crash, and it killed her career. None of us know if it's true or not. I have no reason to doubt her. It could happen, right? But she always says this when she's trying to get into levels of things that she can't be in, right? She's at best, if you know tennis at all, she's a 2-something, right? And that's, she's not what she used to be. So I've had to have multiple conversations with her over and over and over. Barb, I'm sorry, you can't do Ladies' Day. You can't do this class. You're going to get hurt. This is a high level. Well, I can do it. I used to play pro tennis. Yeah, you played it 50-some years ago, Barb. And I've had this conversation with her over and over. And it's always awkward and difficult. But after multiple, I finally got her. And now when I see her, she doesn't ask me anything about tennis. She asks me about my family, and she loves my dog. Like I brought my dog into the conversation because everybody, well, not everybody, but usually it is a little bit of buffer between negative things. Hey, you're yelling at me, look at my puppy. Right? That calms them down a little bit, right? Just those consistent conversations. I apologize to her every time. I'm like, Barbara, I'm sorry. This is a hard conversation for me to have. I know what you were. I believe you. But at our club, it's not the right fit. And we've got to think about all the other members. And it was... So I told her all this, and when I first started, she still signed up for Ladies' Day. I'd have to call her that morning. Barbara, I saw you signed up. Remember we had this conversation. It's not... You can't do it. It's too high a level. All right, next week she signs up for Ladies' Day. Barb, that's over, luckily. And all we talk about now is we talk about my dog and my kids and my daughter getting married, and we're cool. Like, she's very, very nice. She takes her half an hour private lesson a week with whoever, and she's great, but it takes a tremendous amount of time. As much as we want to, I'd encourage you not to give up on those people. There is a path. There's something nice in there somewhere, right? You just have to search for it, and that's hard to do with the amount of members we have. That's a lot of searching because she's not the only. I mean, we've got multiple of those, right? You're not going to get them all, but find those moments. You're walking down the hall, and I see Barb sitting having a cup of coffee. I'm going to do everything I can to just go say hello, good morning, Barb. How are you? Done. That's all some of them are looking for. Others want to talk tennis or training or their, health plan or weight loss plan. That's fine, whatever you all do. I think that's something the WAC's really good at, but we can all be better at it. So here's another challenge for all of you. We're almost done, I promise. It's another thing that I've sort of failed at. I've not bounced around. I've been to 7 different clubs in my career since I was my first club job at 18. That's not really that much for somebody like me. Minimum I've been somewhere is 3 years, but I've only been in the WAC 3 years, right? That's enough time to build some pretty strong relationships with people. So I've got people from when I was at Indiana University and college that I still know, whether it's social media or through other things. I have people when I was in North Carolina I'm still friends with, but I'm losing track as I get older. So one thing I've tried to do, I just wrote just do it on here. Every time I have a thought about someone, I try my best. I try to act on that with a text or a phone call or an email. So if I'm driving along and a friend from the past, for whatever reason, hits me, I'm going to try to find them. Hey, I was just thinking about you. Hope all is well. It's been a bunch of years, but hope all is good. Right? It's amazing what that will do for you personally to have that connection. Right? So last time I did this, I gave everybody in the room a challenge, and the majority did it, to think about someone that you have not heard from for a while. Someone you care about. It could be a member, an ex-employee, current employee, family. Send them a text in the next week or so. Just say, hey, was thinking about you. Hope things are good. Whatever your relationship is with them. It's a really powerful thing to have, to realize that, oh, you know what, they were thinking about you too once. They just didn't act on it. Be the one to act on it. So I was here last time. I texted my buddies Dan and Jeff, who I used to see every day at another job, and we've lost touch. We still text a little bit. I text them both because we go to dinner twice a year, the same place. Just said, hey guys, I haven't seen you. It's time. Let's get together. And we went to dinner the next week. It was awesome. I caught up with them, and it's about time to do it again. It could be family. Go through something hits you, just do it. Okay, again, I'm not great at this stuff. I'm trying to be better at that, but the impact of that is huge. I tell our tennis coaches they should be doing it once a week minimum to our members, their students. Right? I sent a video to 8 ladies right before I walked in the door because my class I taught them yesterday was based on the Eminem song "Lose Yourself." Do you know that song? So that is my go-to pump-up song. That would be my hype song if I was a baseball player. Always has been. I crank it up. And my whole lesson was about how sometimes there's big moments in your match, and you gotta crank it up and recognize that moment, and don't let it pass. I could rap for you if you want. I know I'll do it. Right. Okay. No. That one. Maybe I might be able to do that.
If you want to.
Yeah. Let me make the choice. Come on. Yeah. So I recorded a video of me sitting in my car with that thing cranked up, as loud as my car goes. And I'm going to send it to them to show them, because I told them the story about it, that song, but I don't do it every single time I go. When I go to Quick Trip, I don't crank up "Lose Yourself." Right? It's big, important things. Like today, this is important to me. Right? I need something to be like, all right, let's go kick some ass. I swear I can. It's not bad, though. Right? I'm okay with that. Don't report me to HR. Right? Yeah, that's right. So that little moment, hey, we talked about this yesterday. This is me in my non-tennis court life getting ready to go. It shows the front of the WAC with "Lose Yourself." Probably way too loud.
Right there, yeah. Phone.
No, I'm okay.
Throw it right up there.
Right.
I like this idea. If you want to.
See, I like it.
Just do it.
This is gonna help our relationship. I like it. So, has anybody thought about somebody in your head that you're like, I haven't talked to them for a while? You should have. Everybody's got somebody, right? It doesn't have to be important. It could be somebody you haven't seen in a week. You just miss them, right? Or you want to hang out or catch up in some form. So that is your challenge. And if anybody's willing in the next week, 2 weeks, month, shoot me an email. Tell me how it worked, right? I hope it works well. Hopefully you don't pick somebody and you end up hating each other's guts forever and it goes terribly. I'm going to pick, I haven't decided yet. I got a few on my list. Yeah, one is major. It's going to be some drama, and one's not. So I think I'm going to choose the less drama.
Listen, I already did the drama.
Are you?
We'll be W.
Yeah.
We'll be W.
Yeah, good. Going back to the hospital one, I will forever go to that. It was Waukesha Memorial. I'd never been in a hospital in Wisconsin, so that's where my primary doctor sent me, because that's where he worked out of. So I'm like, cool, I'll go wherever you tell me. He told me to go there because their customer service and their patient care was better than anywhere else. And he thought that was what I needed. And that's super important because I met my primary doctor the day he sent me to the ER. I didn't have a doctor. I don't go ever. I should probably go. But I met the doctor that morning, did a bunch of blood tests, sent me home. 6 o'clock that night, he calls me in doctor voice and says, go now. Right? And I said, where? He said, if you want the best patient care, go to Waukesha Memorial. And I trusted him, and it was amazing. I will go there every time if I can. If I have that ability, I will go there. They even called me. So I did a podcast on my experience there. No tennis, no coaching. It was just from start to finish about my experience, mainly for my therapy, because it was a challenging week for me. Their hospital, I forget what her title was, but she runs like their team. She handles all the like team morale stuff, and so she had me come in and speak to their nursing staff and play clips of my podcast because she wanted them to know how much impact they have on people. It was awesome. I never expected that, but I think it's worth our time to make sure our members know that we care as much as we can care. I know they're not our family. Some become that. It feels like you see them every day, right? But just letting people know that it's cool. Even though I just argued with you because you want to cheat the system, we're going to find a way to help you enjoy this place. And the last one, the doctor there, the GI doctor, which I didn't know what a GI doctor was, but now I do. They put a lot of things in places. Turns out I get rolled into my first experience in the room where they're going to knock me out and do whatever they do to me. Doctor rolls in and says, "You're the tennis guy." I'm like, "Yep. How do you know that? This is creepy because what you're about to do to me makes this a little weird." Turns out she's a member of Lake Country. Griglione, Nicole. Her kid's last name is Thurston. Thurston girls. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm laying on my side, getting ready to get knocked out, and who knows what they did to me under that, but she's like, "Yeah, I play a little bit, but I don't do any programs. I play early in the morning, or my kids play or something." And so we're just chatting tennis, and she's putting the gloves on, and they're putting needles in me, and I'm like, "This is going to be weird, isn't it? I see you at the club." So she comes in, I had her, I guess I have a GI doctor now, but she, because of that Lake Country relationship, she gave me her cell number. And I've used it multiple times with no, quit texting me, you creep. I had some issues that I thought were related to my health problems. And I'm like, should I bug her? I'm like, she gave it to me. So I could text her, "Hey, this is happening, what do you think?" And one of them, she sent me back to the ER. Turns out it was fine. But for a doctor to do that, I don't think she does it if I'm not either nice to her or have a relationship through Lake Country. She had seen my picture on the wall. She's seen a lot more. Hope she didn't take any other pictures, because that.
Hopefully that picture's not.
Yeah, I don't want to see that one. But little things like that are highly important, and like I said, I don't have a lot of notes on any of that stuff because it's just, I lived it. It's what I did, and I understand the impact that those people had on me, and hopefully I have it back on others. So you've got a couple challenges. Text somebody, call them, just say, "Hey." I'm telling you, you'll get something out of it. Maybe it ends a relationship finally, and you get that burden off your back, right? Something that's maybe hanging out there that you don't feel good about, just do it. Or just choose a member, somebody that's been good to you. Hey, just thinking, I do it all the time with tennis. Saw this video on YouTube, it applies to what we worked on the court. Boom, done. It's not like I'm, giving my life story to them, but let them know you're thinking about them when they're not standing in front of you is huge. One of my first bosses said, "You'll be better than everybody if they know you're thinking about them when they're not in front of you." And we've got a coaching staff that some of them aren't good at this. You're standing in front of them, they are awesome. You leave, you're done until next week. The best ones are, I hit with Liz on Monday, and on Wednesday I checked in with her. "Hey, how was your league match?" That simple. You've got them. You're gonna have a fan forever. I tell everybody that I've talked to in the tennis world, and my brother was here, we would have the conversation that tennis coaches, we all wonder when someone's going to figure out we don't know what we're doing. Right? Because every day we go out and we have to have programming, and trainers do it every day, the same people, over and over. And I've got groups that I've had every Thursday morning at 9 o'clock for 3 years. You know how many lesson plans that is? It's tennis. There's only a few ways to play it, right? Make them think that you are studying that game or whatever you do when they're not standing there. Quick text, hey, I'm working on our lesson plan for tomorrow. What do you guys think about this? Done. They'll be like, oh, it's the greatest thing ever. And then lastly, guy I trust a lot in my career, one of the guys I look up to, told me as a young coach, if you will return your texts, emails, and phone calls quickly, within 24 hours, you're already better than 50% of everybody else in your club. I think that's powerful, and it's 100% true. You might be better than 100% in some cases, right? Because the struggles we have in the tennis world are, somebody sent me a text at 8 o'clock in the morning on Monday. It's now Thursday, and I didn't get a response. It's one of the worst things you can do, damaging. So do your best. Even if you can't answer the question, hey, got your text, I'm on the court for the next 6 hours, I'll catch you later, done. Right? It's a pain, but it's the world we chose. This is the world I chose. It's constant, right? Last thing, then I'll let you guys leave. I'm done. So, going along with this stuff, I used to be in the show choir in high school, in music and chorus, and sang the national anthem at basketball games. So back in the day, I was about as shy as you could get. I wouldn't talk to people all the way through probably sophomore year of high school. Terrified of people, not a lot of friends. So one day, I decided to try out for this Christmas play, the Christmas musical at my school. My brother's a great musician, singer, all that kind of stuff. Because I decided I got to find a way out of this. I was pretty miserable. Didn't imagine me not being able to talk to people, right? I couldn't do it. So I tried out, and I got a part singing White Christmas on the stage and didn't tell anybody. My parents showed up to see my brother, and I was in it. And I butchered it. There's a video of it. It's terrible. It was some, soldier being away from Christmas thing, and I was in, full army fatigues and that kind of stuff, and I was, singing because I missed my family. It was so bad. But from that point on, that was it for me. I needed that one thing to embarrass me and get over it and move on, and nobody killed me. I was fine. Nobody really cared, to tell you the truth. They care now more because I always hear about it around Christmas time. Am I going to sing White Christmas at our family stuff? But if you're struggling with that stuff, karaoke is still my absolute zero. But there's other things I might try to put me in those spaces. I always tell my kids, you got to be uncomfortable. For years, they make fun of me now. We know, Dad, you want us to be uncomfortable and go through some stuff. We get it. And they have. See, they've listened to me. I sang the national anthem at basketball games. Butchered that bad. Terrible. Right? But once you do those things, you can do whatever you want. It doesn't matter. So if you have something that you feel like is holding you back, just do it. Right? Take the embarrassment. Enjoy it. People like people who can make fun of themselves too. Right? When I was a senior in high school, I was in, I think it was Hello Dolly. And I had gone, if you know musicals at all, do you know I have a musical background? So the year before, I was Nathan Detroit in a musical called Guys and Dolls, which is there's two main, I was one of the main guys. So I'm going into my senior year thinking, I'm going to get a big part in this. I'm going to be the lead dude. I get this tiny little part. We named him. He didn't have a name. So I went from thinking I was pretty good to nothing on my senior year, and it crushed me. Right? I wanted to quit. Then I decided, screw that, I'm going to make this dude the best little character ever had in my life. And me and a couple others who were kind of my buddies in it, we turned our character into a main part of that show. We just jazzed it up and did all kinds of crazy stuff. Ended up winning Best Overall Cast Member my senior year. Didn't get it the previous year when I had a huge part with tons of lines and the main thing. It taught me that be super nice to people, buy into whatever you're doing, big or small. If you're having that conversation with your friend in the lobby having coffee, that is huge. You might think it's just something you do. That is a massive thing in their day. So whatever you're doing, big, small, make it important, right? Because it just might be to them, right? That is the Pink Flamingo Police Officer Ace Hardware NW. I'm done, and I did not cry that much. Thank you guys. Lori asked me if you guys can grab these. They're on the back too. There are